So, image cycling, William Bengston's image cycling, is not word cycling. It's not idea cycling. It's not sigil cycling. It's image cycling. So, image cycling, William Bengston's image cycling, is not word cycling. It's not idea cycling. It's not sigil cycling. It's image cycling. So, and I think there's a good reason for that. And I don't think we improve on it by cycling words or thoughts or extrapolations of thoughts rather than pictures. I think pictures is important, just the same way as emotions are important. All right, so this is taken from, I wrote this back in 2009. And his method is you think of some stuff you want and you write a word for it. And the purpose for the word is not to repeat the words as much as it is to help you remember the picture that you've described here, so that you just have a quick anchor for it. You're not supposed to cycle or to memorize the words. You're supposed to memorize the pictures according to his method. So what I have had people do, this is just one of the many ways to do it, is you write your words in each of these things, and you just go around and you go, okay, that image, that image, that image, that image, but you have words inside each of these circles. All right, so again, it's an image cycling exercise, not a word cycling exercise. The words are there just until you have the images memorized. It's literally that simple. Now, why is this so? I was just working with a client, and she says, why can't I make sigils? Isn't that a more profound level of detachment? And shouldn't that work better? And why can't I use words or a picture of the word? Doesn't my unconscious translate that? And I would say there's some reasons why it doesn't work. So, and they're all philosophical, right? And who knows what the real thing is, but there's all these philosophies, probably hundreds, if not thousands, depending on how you describe what a philosophy is, of cosmologies, of how heaven comes to earth, how the world of spirit becomes the world of matter, how things are actually come into being. All right, so one of them is the Kabbalah. So this is just a diagram that I got off Google Images. It has all these relationships, and that this is the Ein Sof, and it comes down through all these things, and there's all these relationships. And if you cultivate relationships with each one of these sephira, it's rather a fruitful spiritual study. Okay, so and this is manifestation down here, but there's just a whole lot of discussion about how the world of the immaterial comes down and becomes material. And when you really live into those symbols, it's really amazing what can happen. And here's another philosophy. This is Taoism. And since I'm an acupuncturist, this is one that I'm actually rather familiar with. I'm not going to teach it to you in great detail, but I'll just show you. I'll just use my finger. Okay. So the idea is that you go from undifferentiated space where there's nothing into nothing and something, and then it differentiates between like light and dark. Like the polarity comes, you could say this is the quantum field and this is the bipolar field. This is duality. And then it starts, as it start interacting, it starts turning, and there's the yin-yang symbol that a lot of us know. And this turning creates all these relationships with inside the duality, and then the 10,000 things emerge. Okay, and that's down here in the 10,000 things. This is where the Muggle scientific world of cause and effect is. Like, if you lift something up, it falls. If you let something go, it falls. These. If you're nice to somebody, they're often nice back. There's these causes and there's these effects. Okay, So you would say that images are down here. They are in the 10,000 things. All right? A thought, you can think about the 10,000 things. You can think without having an emotion. It's really hard not to have an emotional attachment, even a neutral emotional attachment to a picture. It's easy to have a thought without an emotional attachment. It's easy to have, like if you surrender your sigil, if you don't know what sigils are, I'm not going to go into that right now, but it's this way of creating a code for your unconscious and releasing it into finer and finer things until you just release it and you don't think about it. And so if you were cycling sigils, you wouldn't be actually doing sigil magic. So I don't think that's good at all. But depending on how you do it, of course. But the reason I think that it's so important to do images is because images are in duality. They have the texture of stuff. They are like, okay, I can think of cup, the word cup. And you might, when I said cup, you probably thought of a cup. And you might have thought of the cup that's on your desk, or a cup that you like, or maybe you saw a couple cups. If I say the word computer, a lot of you just saw a picture of a computer in your head. So the word computer is not a picture, but a picture is associated with it. And I would suggest that the matrix that holds our reality in place is partially held in place by pictures. And that pictures are associated with emotions. Okay, so now let's move to another philosophy. And this is my octave resonance healing approach, which is not a technique. It's a philosophy. It's a point of view. It's a perspective that's super basic, so that almost anybody, instead of studying this, which is like at least several afternoons of Taoism, if not a lifetime, right? And instead of the Kabbalah, which is probably even more complicated, we just have a fourfold system that almost anybody can relate to. So we have the physical world that we share with rocks and minerals. We have the plant, the octave of life force, which we share with plants. We have the octave of emotions and images, which we share with animals. And we have the octave of higher awareness or spiritual that is human. It's a human thing, okay? And it doesn't mean that rocks don't have a spiritual consciousness and that it all isn't interpenetrating, and that's the resonance part, that you can't really do one without affecting the whole. So I use this to help my patients and my students really understand how to observe what's going on. So emotions and images are right up here. Another word for this layer of consciousness, this layer of how spirit comes down into matter, is astral. And if you cycle words, you're suddenly cycling higher consciousness, and you don't have the gnarly texture. You're not in the mess of life when you're just thinking the words. You're too abstract to actually affect the change. And the way you test this is you cycle without your images, and it's usually very easy. You just spin a ball of light, which I'll have you do. It's very easy. Or you add the images to them, and it's almost suddenly there's traction going on. It's almost as if, the way I experience it, is the molecules of the universe are rearranging. It's very unnatural for you to have images and not have time to create an emotional attachment to that. So I think that the idea that it's an image cycling exercise needs to be preserved. And if you're lazy, which most of us are lazy at some point of the day, not just of our lives, and you're just like going through the words and memorizing the words, or maybe the picture of the word, you're not as deeply connected to the material. So the idea of a cup is very non-specific. There's like a gazillion cups, right? But let's say I really want to manifest a petrified forest cup. Okay? say I really want this cup. Having a picture of it is different than having a thought of it that isn't associated with a picture. And I know that if you think about it long enough, your word will have a picture. But what the Bengston exercise is about is taking a slice of that story of the thing that you want and creating a snapshot of one moment of it so that you can memorize it, so that you can put it into your blood, you can incarnate it into your memory. The idea of anything is not as incarnated, is not as physical. You could say that I want to be thin and rich. Well, what exactly does that look like to you? You know, you want to be sick? You want to be, like, what is that? What does it look like? And if you can get it so that you can look at it and see a picture of it, and that 10 other people could look at that picture and say, yes, she's thin and rich. Or say you want a cup. If you have a picture of the cup you want on there, and 10 people say, oh, she's got that cup, definitely got that cup, it's incarnated. It's not actually incarnated, because a picture is not the same, like a picture of this cup is not the same as the cup, but it's closer than the idea of it. Okay? So hopefully that helps you gather your resources to really cycle images. Don't cycle thoughts, don't cycle words, really cycle images, and take the time to cultivate your relationship with your images. And this is a big part of what I do, is encourage my students and my clients to really care about their images, because the images are messages. They are, the pictures in this level are like the conduit to the higher levels. And the big problem is that we have an illness down here in the physical, and we just want God to fix it, and we don't play with this pathway into that. And some other time I can talk about the life force, which a lot of people skip too. People want to just do thinking and then manifestation, just going to do a ritual, do a magic ritual, do a prayer, and then, oh, I didn't get better. Like, there's actually a method to how it comes in. And part of what I think is brilliant about the Bengston Method is that it has images in it, the image cycling. Now, of course, this explanation of it is mine, not his. I don't know if he would agree with it. I think that he would probably say, like, interesting point of view. Like, that's one way to construct what might, to like have a conversation about what's happening. He's amazingly great at sticking to the facts. Like, this is what you do. Just do it. Anything else you put around it, just be aware that you're putting stuff around it and make sure it doesn't interfere. You can put stuff around it, just don't confuse it with it. So my explanation of my octave resonance healing approach to the Bengston Method is not to be confused with the Bengston Method. It's just me talking about it. And we all have, if we've worked with the Bengston Method very much, we've all fitted into our personal cosmology in one way or another. It's just what happens if you work intimately with anything. And at least I hope it does. And so that's fine, as long as you know that you're talking about something that actually needs to be followed rather precisely. Okay, that's my teaching about that. Hopefully that was helpful, and it motivated you to deepen your relationship to the pictures on your cycling list, and maybe review your cycling list. Okay, and get those pictures spruced up a bit so that they can really help you manifest the healing that you want, and everything else on the list. Alrighty, let's do the meditation now.